Today's lesson, the Pythagorean Theorem. We're going to use the Pythagorean Theorem to solve real-world problems. The Indiana Academic Standard is 7.4.3. The Pythagorean Theorem states that in any right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs equals the square of the length of the hypotenuse. The formula is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In a right triangle, the legs are perpendicular to each other. They make the right angle. The hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. In the drawing to the right, we need to label the legs. Those are the two sides that make up the right angle. And we need to label the hypotenuse. That is the side that's opposite the right angle. Pause the video at this time if you need more time to copy this down. Be sure to copy down any questions that you have so that we can discuss them in class. Here's the proof of the Pythagorean Theorem. We have the legs A and B and the hypotenuse C. If A is 3, B is 4, and C is 5. If you square A, you get 9. If you square B, you get 16. If you square C, you get 25. Well, 9 plus 16 equals 25. So this proves the Pythagorean Theorem. Example number 1. Finding the length of a hypotenuse. Find the length of the hypotenuse of the triangle. We're always going to start with the Pythagorean Theorem if it's a right triangle. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, we wrote c squared first. That's fine. We know both the legs. Those are going to be A and B. It really doesn't matter which you assign to which. So we're going to say that A is 7.5. So we have 7.5 squared plus 10 squared. Because we're saying if A is 7.5, B must be 10. Well, 7.5 squared is 56.25. 10 squared is 100. 56.25 plus 100 is 156.25. Now we're not trying to find c squared. What we're really trying to find is c. So to find out what c is, we have to take the square root of c squared and the square root of 156.25. The square root of 156.25 is 12.5. So the length of the hypotenuse is 12.5 centimeters. Pause the video if you need more time to copy down these notes. Number 2. Finding the length of a leg. Find the length of the missing leg of the triangle. We still start with the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I'm not going to follow the pattern that they already have established here, so find a spot somewhere in your notes you can write this problem down. A is going to be 15. So we're going to have 15 squared plus, we don't know the other leg, so we're going to leave it b squared, equals 25 squared, because the hypotenuse is 25. 15 squared is 225. 25 squared is 625. So we now have 225 plus b squared equals 625. We're trying to get b by itself, so we're going to subtract 225 from both sides of the equation. So we end up with b squared equals 400. To find out what b is, we must take the square root of b squared and the square root of 400. The square root of b squared is b, and the square root of 400 is 20. So the missing length is 20 feet. Pause the video if you need more time to copy down any portion of this problem. Number 3. A ladder placed 4 feet from a wall touches the wall 11.3 feet above the ground. What is the approximate length of the ladder? A sketch shows that the length of the ladder is the length of the hypotenuse. So A is going to be 4 and B can be 11.3. So we start with our Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 4, so we have 4 squared. B is 11.3, so we have plus 11.3 squared. And we don't know our hypotenuse, so we're going to leave that c squared. 4 squared is 16. 11.3 squared is 127.69. So we have 16 plus 127.69 equals c squared. We add 16 and 127.69 and get 143.69. That is equal to c squared. Now remember, we're trying to find c. To find that, we're going to have to take the square root of both sides of the equation. The square root of 143.69 is 11.9870764. The square root of c squared is c. So we can round this and say that the ladder is about 12 feet long. Pause the video if you still need to copy down any portion of this example. Don't forget, jot down any questions that you have as you're taking these notes. Number 1, find the length of the hypotenuse in the triangle at the right. We start off with our formula, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We know the legs, so that means we know a and b. A is 8 and b is 15. So we will now have 8 squared plus 15 squared equals c squared. 8 squared is 64, 15 squared is 225, and c squared remains c squared. 64 plus 225 is 289. So we have 289 equals c squared. Now to get c all by itself, we have to take the square root of both sides. The square root of 289 is 17. The square root of c squared is c. So 17 inches equals c. The hypotenuse is 17 inches. Pause the video if you need more time to copy down this example. Don't forget to write down a question also. Example 2. Find the missing length in the triangle at the right. When we look at this triangle, we know one leg, we have a b, and we know the hypotenuse. So we start with the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. A is 7 and c is 25. So we substitute both of those in. So we have 7 squared plus b squared equals 25 squared. 7 squared is 49. 25 squared is 625. So we have 49 plus b squared equals 625. We need to subtract 49 from both sides of the equation to try to get b by itself. So we have b squared equals 576. Now we take the square root of both sides of the equation. So the square root of b squared is b, and the square root of 576 is 24. So b is 24 miles. Pause the video if you need more time to copy down this example. And the final example. Number 3. A support wire is attached to the top of a 60-meter tower. It meets the ground 25 meters from the base of the tower. How long is the wire? It's going to be important that you can draw pictures of some of these items. So we need to draw a picture showing a wire attached to a 60-foot tower or 60-meter tower, and it's 25 meters from the base of the tower to the ground. So here's the picture. Once you have your drawing created, then you're ready to start working the problem out. We're still going to use the Pythagorean Theorem of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. In this case, we know the tower, which is 60 meters, and the length from the bottom of the tower to where the wire meets the ground is 25 meters. So that's our A and B. What we don't know is C, the hypotenuse, the length of the wire. So we have 25 squared plus 60 squared equals C squared. 25 squared is 625, 60 squared is 3,600, and C squared is C squared. 625 plus 3,600 is 4,225 equals C squared. To get C by itself, we're going to have to take the square root of both sides of the equation. The square root of 4,225 is 65 meters. The square root of C squared is C. So the wire is 65 meters long. Pause the video if you need time to finish copying down this example. I hope that Pythagorean theorem is starting to make sense to you. We'll do a couple more problems in class together tomorrow and answer any questions that you might have.